Why are we here today? Because of the heavy stigma once tied to homosexuality, most Americans have no idea who these trailblazers were or what they achieved. Imagine it, a black star, openly gay, at a time when a single confession could end a career overnight. Instead of being honored, they were cast aside, even by their own communities. These figures weren't just icons of the LGBTQ+ movement. They were living witnesses, towering symbols of resilience who endured decades of discrimination and erasure before the world was even brave enough to say their names. Long before the spotlight found them, they had already loved, fought, and been forgotten in a Hollywood that treated queerness like a death sentence. But they refused to disappear. Against all odds, they shined. In this video, we reveal the hidden stories of 21 of the most enduring Black LGBTQ+ legends. Pioneers who not only reshaped the world of entertainment, but also paved the way for the freedom to love that lives on today. James Baldwin, the black man who defied Harlem, Paris, and the world to love freely. What does it mean to love when the world refuses to recognize your love? When your very existence challenges the foundation of society itself? James Baldwin, one of the most fearless and brilliant voices of the 20th century, lived his life not just asking that question, but answering it with every word he wrote and every breath he took. Known for masterpieces like Go Tell It on the Mountain and Giovanni's Room, Baldwin didn't just explore the tangled realities of race, gender, and sexuality. He shattered the boundaries society tried to trap him within. In 1951, living in Harlem, a place that was both his home and a constant reminder of America's deep racism, Baldwin made a radical choice. He openly loved Luc, a white man from France. Their relationship wasn't just a private romance. It was a public act of rebellion, a fearless declaration of freedom in a world determined to silence them. One night, confronted by a gang of white youths, Baldwin stood at a crossroads between fear and defiance. When one of the attackers raised a fist, Baldwin, with stunning calm, looked him in the eye and asked, "Are you going to hit me because I'm black, or because I love a man?" The question cut sharper than any weapon. It stunned the group into silence, and they backed down. But Baldwin knew this moment was bigger than one small victory. It was a painful reminder that America wasn't ready to accept his love or his truth. This realization drove Baldwin to leave the country he called home. In Paris, he finally found the freedom to live and to write without fear. It was there he penned Giovanni's Room, a groundbreaking novel that forever changed the way the world understood LGBTQ+ love. Baldwin's life was never just about fighting for the right to love who he chose. It was about challenging every lie society told about identity, freedom, and dignity. His legacy reminds us that love, in all its forms, knows no borders, no color lines, no shame. And that real change begins when we dare to live authentically, no matter what it costs. Audrey Lord, the fearless writer who once dared to kiss her same-sex lover right in the heart of City Hall, was more than just a voice. She was a force. As one of the most influential writers and activists of the 20th century, Lord fought tirelessly for freedom, equality, and LGBTQ+ rights, especially at the crossroads of race and gender. In 1984, during a heated public meeting in New York City on LGBTQ+ rights, a city council member tried to soften his prejudice, saying he wasn't against gay people, he just didn't think they should show affection in public. In a room charged with tension, Lord didn't argue. She answered with something far more powerful. She reached for her partner, Frances Clayton, took her hand, and kissed her, boldly, unapologetically, in front of everyone. It was more than a kiss. It was a fearless act of defiance, a declaration that love deserves to be seen, honored, and never hidden. In that instant, Lord shattered the narrow, outdated expectations of what love should look like. Her simple but profound gesture stunned the room into silence and forced the broader public to confront the invisible rules society places on who gets to love openly. Through one kiss, Audrey Lord sent a clear, unforgettable message. Love knows no boundaries, and it never should. Her courage didn't just challenge discrimination, it inspired change. As a reporter for the New York Times later put it, Lord didn't just confront societal prejudices, she made us all rethink what it means to respect love in every form. Thanks to her bravery, we are reminded that sometimes the simplest acts can ignite the most powerful revolutions. Bayard Rustin, betrayed by his own movement, yet unbroken. Bayard Rustin, the brilliant mind behind the 1963 March on Washington, fought battles on two fronts, against the enemies of civil rights and against prejudice within his own ranks. As a master strategist and trusted advisor to Martin Luther King Jr., Rustin's leadership was undeniable. Yet one truth set him apart and made him a target: he was openly gay. Whispers about Rustin's private life spread like wildfire. In a pivotal meeting with civil rights leaders, a prominent pastor stood up and openly attacked him, claiming Rustin's very presence could cripple the movement. Calm but fierce, Rustin fired back with a piercing question: "If I were a white man in love with a white woman, would you still feel the same?" The room fell into an uncomfortable, telling silence. Despite being sidelined, removed from key meetings, and betrayed by those he called brothers, Rustin never walked away. He remained a driving force behind the March on Washington, standing firm in his belief that courage could not, and would not, be silenced by fear or hatred. The 1963 March, where Dr. King delivered his immortal "I Have a Dream" speech, stands as a lasting testament to Rustin's vision and resilience. He didn't just help win a victory for Black civil rights. He proved that living authentically and fighting fearlessly, even in the face of betrayal, can change the world. Marsha P. Johnson, a spark that lit a revolution. Marsha P. Johnson, a fearless trailblazer for LGBTQ+ rights and a fierce advocate for the transgender community, refused to be silent in the face of injustice. As co-founder of Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, STAR, she fought to lift up transgender people and LGBTQ+ individuals of color. But it was the night of the Stonewall riots in 1969 that Marsha etched her name into history. When police raided the Stonewall Inn and attacked members of the LGBTQ+ community, Marsha didn't run. She didn't hide. Instead, she grabbed her drink and hurled it into a police officer's face. That bold, defiant act sparked an uprising that would ripple across generations. What seemed like a small moment became the ignition for a revolution, a moment when history itself shifted. Marsha's fearless energy proved one thing: sometimes it only takes one act of bravery to change the course of the future. As she famously said, "I have nothing to lose, but everything to gain." That one drink didn't just spark a fight that night. It forever changed the fight for LGBTQ+ rights, forcing the world to reckon with the fundamental right to live, love, and be free. Alvin Ay, turning dance into a voice for Black America. Alvin Ay, a towering figure in modern dance, wasn't just a remarkable talent, he was a revolutionary. Through his work, Ay gave voice to the Black experience, creating pieces that pulsed with the soul, struggles, and triumphs of his people. He founded the Alvin Ay American Dance Theater, where every movement was more than art, it was a bold statement about freedom, identity, and resilience. His masterpiece, Revelations, became a timeless legend, telling a wordless yet deeply emotional story of joy, sorrow, faith, and the enduring hunger for liberation. But Ay's journey was anything but easy. Early in his career, when preparing to debut a new piece at a major theater, he faced brutal resistance. The theater director demanded changes, claiming the work was too Black, too different, arguing it wouldn't sit well with audiences. Ay was pressured not just to dilute his art, but to question whether the world would ever accept a Black dancer's unfiltered truth. Yet he refused to compromise. He stood his ground, believing that real art must reveal, not conceal. Ay premiered Revelations exactly as he envisioned it: raw, honest, and unapologetically Black. The result? A masterpiece that didn't just captivate audiences, it shattered barriers. In a world thick with prejudice, Alvin Ay proved that art is not just entertainment. It's a weapon against injustice, a mirror to truth, and a force powerful enough to change the world. Angela Davis, When a Single Kiss Shook the World. Angela Davis stands as one of the most iconic figures in the civil rights movement, a fearless champion for racial justice, gender equality, and LGBTQ+ rights. By 1969, she had already become a symbol of resistance, arrested in a high-profile political case tied to the rise of activist movements. But Angela was never just an academic. She was a warrior, relentlessly fighting for the freedom and dignity of all people. Yet one of the most unforgettable moments of her revolutionary journey wasn't fought in a courtroom or a lecture hall. It happened with a single, defiant act of love. In 1970, during a tense press conference, a reporter asked her bluntly, "Aren't you afraid that being open about your sexuality could destroy your career in the movement?" Without flinching, Angela locked eyes with him and said, "The truth is not something to hide. It's something to live." Then, in a move that left the entire room breathless, she reached for her lover's hand and kissed her, right there, in front of everyone. The room thickened with shock, but that kiss wasn't just a personal gesture. It was a political declaration, a bold affirmation that love, in all its forms, demands to be seen and respected. Angela Davis showed the world that sometimes, real change doesn't come from speeches or arguments. It comes from the courage to simply live your truth. Her words, and that powerful moment, continue to echo through history. "I will never be ashamed of what I love." Alice Walker, a pen that redefined the boundaries of love. Have you ever wondered how a woman, celebrated worldwide for her brilliance, could lose the support of her own community, simply for loving who she loved? Alice Walker, the legendary author of The Color Purple, wasn't just a masterful storyteller, she was a fierce advocate for living authentically. Despite her monumental success writing about love, freedom, and human dignity, she faced one of her greatest battles when she dared to live her truth. In the 1980s, when Alice Walker came out as gay, the backlash wasn't just from the broader society. It came heartbreakingly from within her own community, even among those she had fought alongside during the civil rights movement. At one gathering, a colleague bluntly challenged her, asking, "How can you represent the community when you live like this?" Walker didn't flinch. She answered with the quiet force that only truth can carry, "Love knows no boundaries, only prejudice does." Her words were more than a defense. They were a battle cry for anyone who has ever been asked to apologize for who they are. Alice Walker reminded the world that love never needed permission, never needed to explain itself. As she once said, "Love isn't something that needs justification. It's simply part of being human." With her pen, she shattered old walls and built new spaces, where love, in all its forms, could exist without shame, without fear. Alice Walker didn't just rewrite stories. She rewrote what it means to live freely, to love boldly, and to never let the world define the limits of your heart. Don Lemon is a reporter who dared to stand tall against the world. As a Black, openly gay journalist, he faced relentless criticism from both racists and detractors within the LGBTQ+ community. Throughout his career, Lemon became one of the most recognizable faces in the media, but that visibility came at a heavy cost. He wasn't just battling professional challenges, he was standing firm under the crushing weight of societal expectations, especially after he boldly embraced his true identity in the public eye. Lemon never set out to make viewers comfortable. His mission was simple, to speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. During one live broadcast, after sharing his honest views on a sensitive issue, the backlash was immediate and brutal. Critics came from every direction, racists who despised him for his race, and those who refused to accept his place within the LGBTQ+ community. Yet through the storm of attacks, Lemon refused to back down. He stayed true to himself, unwavering in his belief that truth should never be watered down for the sake of comfort. His resilience wasn't just about personal pride, it was a fierce declaration of commitment to justice, honesty, and integrity. In moments like these, Don Lemon proved that sometimes, it's the courage to speak uncomfortable truths that has the power to crack through a society built on prejudice. Despite the criticism, despite the pressure, he kept showing up, delivering raw, honest perspectives to the public. And to me, that's where real power lives, in the unshakable courage to tell the truth. Don Lemon showed the world that no matter the obstacles, honesty combined with bravery can truly change the world. Wanda Sykes coming out in 2008 was a moment that shook America. Picture this, a beloved celebrity, adored by millions, standing before a massive crowd and revealing a truth about their sexuality that no one saw coming. That's exactly what Wanda Sykes, the cherished Hollywood comedian, did, shattering expectations and leaving the nation in awe. In front of thousands, she boldly declared that she was gay, a moment that wasn't just groundbreaking, but brave, given a society still grappling with deeply ingrained biases about gender and sexuality. As Wanda spoke, the air in the room grew thick with tension. Gasps and whispers filled the space, and for a brief second, everything stopped. But then, with her signature wit and confidence, Wanda shrugged it off and simply said, "I'm not changing. The only thing that's changing is how you see me." That moment of truth hung in the air before the room erupted into applause, not just for her courage, but for her unapologetic authenticity. Wanda Sykes didn't just break down walls in Hollywood, she made us all confront the uncomfortable truths about the prejudices we hold. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes, to spark change, you don't need to explain yourself. You simply need to live your truth and let the world adjust to you. RuPaul, the iconic drag queen who redefined cultural boundaries, didn't just perform drag, he revolutionized it. In 1993, when drag was still considered a niche pastime, RuPaul made a groundbreaking appearance on the Arsenio Hall show. When asked if drag was simply about dressing as a woman, RuPaul's response was nothing short of powerful. With unwavering confidence, he replied, "I don't dress as a woman, I transform into freedom." This moment wasn't just a witty retort, it was a bold statement that forever altered how drag was perceived. RuPaul made it clear, drag is not just about costumes or play, but about embracing the freedom to express who you truly are. From that point on, he became a symbol of liberation and self-expression for the LGBTQ+ community. As he famously declared, "If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else?" RuPaul didn't just spark a cultural shift, he became the face of a global movement. Lee Daniels didn't just make films, he forced Hollywood to listen. A visionary filmmaker and fearless disruptor, Daniels turned the industry upside down with powerful works like Precious and Empire. These were more than just entertainment, they were bold statements about race, gender, and the visibility of the Black and LGBTQ+ communities on screen. When Precious was released in 2009, many doubted its potential, questioning whether such a raw exploration of social issues could be embraced by mainstream audiences. One reporter even asked if the film was too controversial to succeed. Without hesitation, Daniels responded with unwavering conviction, "My job is not to please everyone. I make films to change the world, so those who have never been seen on screen can now see themselves." This declaration wasn't just about making art, it was about creating a space for the unseen, the unheard, and the overlooked. By confronting uncomfortable truths, Daniels ensured that these communities would no longer be ignored. His work sparked conversations that Hollywood couldn't silence, bringing to light issues that had long been swept under the rug. Precious wasn't just a film, it was a declaration of the right to be seen, to be recognized, and to take up space. Daniels revolutionized how Hollywood told stories, breaking barriers and opening doors for voices that had been silenced for far too long. He didn't just change the game, he reshaped it, creating a platform where stories of forgotten people could finally be heard. Billy Porter made Hollywood reconsider everything with a single gown. In 2019, the actor, singer, and activist stunned the world when he walked the Oscars red carpet in a breathtaking black tuxedo gown. In an industry known for its rigid fashion rules and gender expectations, Porter shattered the status quo, turning the spotlight not just on his bold fashion choice but on a groundbreaking message about gender freedom. His black tuxedo gown wasn't just a daring blend of masculine and feminine elements. It was a powerful, unapologetic statement that gender isn't something you have to conform to, it's something you're free to define for yourself. When asked why he made this choice, Porter didn't just talk about fashion, he spoke about liberation. "Gender is not something you have to comply with," he said. "You can be whoever you want to be." That moment forced Hollywood to face an undeniable truth about the norms that had held sway for so long. Porter didn't just break fashion rules, he ignited a movement, challenging conventional ideas of gender and self-expression. His bold act didn't just change the way we look at fashion, it reshaped how we think about identity, freedom, and the courage to be authentic in a world that too often tries to dictate who we should be. Rainey, a legendary figure in blues music, wasn't just an extraordinary talent. She was a trailblazer who sparked a musical revolution in an era when black women and same-sex love were considered taboo. In the 1920s, when prejudice and discrimination were rampant, Rainey dared to sing about her love for women in the iconic "Prove It on Me" blues. With bold lyrics like, "I don't care what the people may say, I'm going to love who I want to love," she not only showcased her own courage in loving freely but also delivered a resounding declaration of love's natural, unshakable right. Rainey didn't just challenge societal norms, she shattered them. Her music became an unapologetic anthem for freedom and equality, proving that love, in all its forms, cannot and should not be silenced. Rainey's legacy isn't just in the evolution of blues. It's in her unyielding stance as a symbol of defiance and empowerment, showing the world that music is a powerful force for breaking barriers and fighting for the rights of the marginalized. Josephine Baker transformed the stage into a fierce battleground for gender equality and civil rights. More than just a celebrated dancer in Paris, she was a fearless activist who used her platform to challenge the status quo and fight for the rights of black people. In an era when black women faced severe discrimination and marginalization, Josephine shattered societal prejudices with unwavering courage. One of the most iconic and daring moments of her life occurred when she boldly took part in a protest for black civil rights. But she didn't stop there. Josephine used her image as a weapon to challenge the very concept of gender itself. In a groundbreaking performance in Paris, she wore a tuxedo, an audacious choice for a woman at that time. It wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a bold act of defiance against the gender constraints society had placed upon her. With this act, she rejected the provocative stereotypes assigned to black women and directly challenged the rigid norms of gender roles. Josephine's confidence and strength on stage made audiences rethink their perceptions of gender and self-expression, forcing them to question the limits society imposed on identity. Through her performances, Josephine Baker didn't just entertain, she fought for freedom. She stood as a symbol of resilience, asserting that no one, regardless of gender, should be confined by prejudice or societal expectations. As she once said, "I want to live the life I have chosen, not the life that society wants me to live." She revolutionized the way the world viewed both women's rights and the rights of black people, forever changing the landscape of freedom and self-expression in the world of art. Bessie Smith, the Empress of Blues, didn't just redefine music, she redefined courage. In an era where prejudice was rampant and same-sex love was shrouded in silence, she boldly poured her heart into her songs, making them fearless confessions of love and identity. At a time when society was gripped by racial and gender discrimination, Bessie didn't just break the rules, she shattered them. Her same-sex relationship, woven into her music, was a challenge to the norms of the 1920s, when such love was considered taboo. One of the most infamous stories surrounding Bessie was the scandalous backstage kiss with a woman, a moment that sent shockwaves through a conservative world. Yet, despite the backlash, Bessie stood unwavering, unafraid of society's judgment. Her music became a fierce declaration of freedom, a battle cry for the right to love without shame. "I don't care what the people may say, I'm going to love who I want to love" wasn't just a lyric, it was her anthem, a bold affirmation of personal liberty in the face of overwhelming opposition. Bessie Smith didn't just transform the blues, she became a symbol of resilience and self-expression, proving that music could be the ultimate weapon for truth and breaking the chains of societal limitations. Her legacy is one of unapologetic authenticity, reminding us that love, in all its forms, deserves to be celebrated, not censored. Ethel Waters, the groundbreaking black singer who took Broadway by storm, wasn't just a performer, she was a trailblazer who redefined what it meant to be a black artist in the 1920s and 30s. In an era when racial and gender discrimination were not just common but socially accepted, Waters' powerful voice and unshakable confidence shattered barriers that many thought would never fall, especially for a black woman. She didn't merely step onto the stage, she dominated it, becoming a force of nature who stood at the forefront of a cultural revolution in American entertainment. Her extraordinary talent was undeniable, but it was her bold, unapologetic self-expression that truly captivated audiences, both on and off the stage. Waters was not afraid to push boundaries, proving that her artistry was not limited by society's rigid expectations. But perhaps the most groundbreaking aspect of Waters' legacy was her fearless navigation of gender identity in a time when any deviation from traditional norms could lead to public rejection. At a moment when conformity was expected, Waters openly embraced her individuality, challenging the status quo and the very limits of what was considered acceptable. She didn't just perform, she transformed Broadway into a platform for social change, using her presence to question racial expectations and defy gender roles. Ethel Waters' story is a testament to the power of self-expression and the unwavering belief that no matter your race, gender, or background, you have the right to take center stage and claim your voice, loud, proud, and without apology. In the vibrant heart of Harlem during the 1920s, a time when jazz, soul, and rebellion filled the air, Glattis Bentley made a daring statement that would forever change the landscape of performance and identity. In an era where women were held to rigid societal expectations and gender norms, Bentley shocked the world by taking the stage in a men's tuxedo, something almost unheard of for a woman at the time. This wasn't just a fashion choice. It was an act of defiance, a bold declaration that she would not be confined by society's limitations. Bentley was more than just a gifted singer. She was a cultural icon, living her truth in the most public of ways. By donning that tuxedo, she became both a performer and a symbol of resistance. Her performances weren't just eye-catching, they were revolutionary. The audience didn't just marvel at the sight of a woman breaking through gender barriers. They were forced to confront their own biases and assumptions. Bentley's audacity made them question what was possible, challenging the status quo in a way that words alone could not. But her courage didn't stop at her wardrobe. "I never pretend to be someone else. I am who I am and I love that," she boldly declared, cementing her role as a trailblazer for gender equality and personal authenticity. In doing so, she carved out a space for others who, like her, refused to be defined by society's narrow standards of womanhood, performance, or identity. Glattis Bentley didn't simply break the mold, she completely remade it. She proved that true strength lies in self-expression, and that no one should ever be forced to conform to an identity that doesn't align with who they truly are. Her legacy is a testament to the power of living authentically and boldly, no matter the cost. Jackie Moms Mabley, one of the first successful black female comedians, used her comedy as a powerful tool to challenge societal prejudices and ignite crucial conversations about race, gender, and same-sex love. In the 1930s and 1940s, when black women and the LGBTQ+ community were often dismissed by society, Mabley broke boundaries with her unapologetic humor. She didn't just make people laugh, she made them question the very norms that marginalized so many. Mabley was openly expressive about her same-sex relationships at a time when such topics were taboo and virtually impossible to accept. Known for her biting wit, she often made jokes about her own experiences with love in a world that silenced such truths. When asked to tone down her jokes about homosexuality, she fiercely responded, "If we can't laugh about the real things, what do we have left to laugh about?" This simple yet powerful statement was not just a reflection of her belief in the power of truth, it was a direct challenge to the rigid norms of her time. Mabley wasn't just a comedian, she was a pioneer who shattered stereotypes. She boldly asserted that the right to love and live authentically should never be hidden or suppressed. Her laughter became a weapon in the fight for freedom and acceptance, especially for the LGBTQ+ community during a time rife with stigma. Her iconic quote, "I'm not a woman, I'm the one who makes people laugh," symbolized her radical self-expression and refusal to conform. Jackie Moms Mabley proved that humor, at its best, can do more than entertain. It can confront the harsh realities of life and society, and in doing so, can spark real change. Through her comedic genius, Mabley demonstrated that the freedom to love and be true to oneself can sometimes come from the most unexpected places, like a good laugh. Billy Strayhorn's jazz hides a powerful secret, one that defies the boundaries of the 1940s scene, where gender and identity were often kept under wraps. In an era of rigid norms, Strayhorn did the unthinkable. He lived openly as a gay man. Can you imagine a musical genius, the mastermind behind many of Duke Ellington's iconic hits, having to navigate a world that was hostile to both his race and his sexual orientation? Jazz, with its rich traditions, wasn't known for embracing the unconventional. Yet, Strayhorn didn't just create timeless melodies, he also challenged the very structures that sought to define him by narrow expectations. His genius wasn't just in crafting some of the most beloved jazz standards, it lay in his quiet defiance. Strayhorn didn't bend to a world that demanded conformity. He lived authentically in a time when that act alone was revolutionary. He didn't just write music that stirred emotions. He embodied the truth that authenticity was the most radical thing one could do in a society that forced queer identities into the shadows. Strayhorn's music was a reflection of his truth, his refusal to remain silent. He wove his identity into every note, creating a legacy where his genius could never be denied, and neither could his true self. He wasn't just a composer, he was a pioneer, reshaping the sound of jazz while also redefining what it meant to exist outside of societal norms. His life and work show that creativity and identity cannot, and should not, be confined by rigid boxes. Strayhorn's legacy is a testament to the power of authenticity in art. His music is more than just sound, it's a declaration of truth, courage, and the beauty of embracing who you are, even when the world is slow to accept it. When we think of Broadway, we often picture timeless plays filled with romance, love, and sacrifice. But in 1959, Lorraine Hansberry did something groundbreaking. She reshaped the very essence of what Broadway could be. With A Raisin in the Sun, she not only brought racial struggles into the spotlight, but also carved out a space for stories about gender, identity, and difference. At a time when society wasn't yet ready to confront LGBTQ+ issues, Hansberry took a bold step, subtly weaving queer love into her narrative and forcing the world to reconsider its deep-rooted prejudices. Hansberry's work wasn't just for entertainment, it was a call to challenge societal norms and expand the boundaries of love and freedom. A Raisin in the Sun became a milestone in showcasing the struggles of the Black community, but it was her deft inclusion of gender and identity issues that made it revolutionary. Through her writing, she proved that Broadway isn't just a stage for classic tales. It's a platform for addressing the vital, often uncomfortable issues that society wasn't yet ready to face. Barbara Jordan, the bold and courageous Black woman who redefined American politics in 1972, stood tall in a world steeped in racial and gender inequality. Hailing from the South, she made history as the first Black woman to represent the South in the U.S. Congress, igniting a political revolution. But it wasn't just her race that set her apart, it was her unwavering ability to challenge and dismantle the barriers society imposed on women, especially Black women, in such a discriminatory world. Every time Barbara Jordan spoke on the floor of Congress, she wasn't just fighting for the rights of the Black community, she was paving the way for women and all marginalized voices, breaking boundaries and carving a path for the voiceless. She boldly declared that true change in politics could only come through honesty and courage, lighting a torch for a fairer, more just future. Barbara Jordan proved that even in a world filled with adversity and injustice, one person, driven by sheer determination and unwavering bravery, can change everything. And just as she blazed this trail, 21 Black stars followed suit, fighting for freedom in a society that tried to silence them. They didn't just transform Hollywood, they shook the very foundations of society. Their stories are not just about fame, they are about the incredible strength, resilience, and authenticity to live and love without limits. These pioneers have shown us that we all deserve to love freely, without fear, and to live authentically. Please like and share this video to spread the powerful message that we all have the right to love, live, and be ourselves, something no one should ever be denied.